Hey there, welcome to part 4 in my series about building my bike. So I have 4 things I want to discuss before I get into my build. Number 1 is my handlebars and the routing of the handlebars. Number 2 is the headset bearings. Number 3 is the routing to the front derailleur. And number 4 is Hambinis tip to use a pipe cutter to cut your carbon steer tube. So let's get to it. My handlebars. If you follow the series in real time, you are probably aware that I've been waiting a long time for these until I got them. But I want to stress this was not Yoeleo's fault. They actually sent it with a very fast shipping company, and it only took 7 days to get from the Yoeleo headquarters in Xiamen to Brussels. And then it got stuck there because the Belgian post, B post, wanted to wait 30 days before handing it over to customs. And then customs took 1 day to clear it, and then finally it got to my house. So yeah, thanks B post, you're the best. So you see all the wires are already guided through the handlebars. Since I had to wait so long for my handlebars, I was super excited to finally get them in. And as I looked inside of the holes here, I could see that the inside of the handlebars is indeed quite rough, or let's say very rough. So I tried just as a test with a first cable, and let's say I got it in, but I also, like when I took it out, had quite some scuff marks. But yeah, I was excited to route all my cables in. So using the method that you can see in Steven's video from All Cycles video, using 2 wires to guide the cable and to pull the cable, I got it done relatively easily. I think it took me less than an hour in total, and I didn't hurry at all. But so big shout out to Steven from All Cycles. Thanks, you're the best. But instead of using trimmer line, I used some the cheapest cables, bike cables, gear cables. Since they also have this end here to pull the wires through. So what happens is, that so the inside is quite rough. So that means that your cable outer can get stuck at a little protrusion. So sometimes you need to pull a little bit harder on the cable to lift it away from that rough spot where it can't pass through, or sometimes maybe you're pulling hard and you're pulling it into a spot and you just have to let go and only push so it goes through. But with a little bit of wiggling, and if you don't have 2 left hands, it's actually not that hard. Another thing I did, as you can see here, is the Garmin mount. So the Garmin mount, it's like a really standard Garmin mount that you can buy on AliExpress for a few euros, dollars, whatever. But I already shortened it, so my small 130 Garmin Edge sort of fits nicely in here. Otherwise it would be like this much further, like 4 centimeters or 5 centimeters further. So I drilled an extra hole here for the bolt, and then I cut off the axis that would otherwise be sitting here. So now it's kind of, I think, quite nice and cleanly done here. Before I wired the cables through, I also took a lot of measurements. So I placed the handlebars on the bike, and I took a lot of measurements to exactly fit the current measurements I have. Even though I want to go 1 spacer 5 mil lower than what I currently have on my other bike, but I first needed to match the previous position. So yeah, I have that done now. And yeah, the most difficult part, getting the cables through the handlebars, that's done. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the build. Alright, so second topic, the headset bearings. So this is sort of a reply to Os cycles as well. So his problem was that this was sitting too far up because and that there was too much space. But as you can see here, if I push here, it's able to turn, but there's very, very minimal space. It's just not touching. So I don't have this issue. However, I have Yoeleo provided 7mm spacer and an 8mm spacer, and with the 8mm spacer I found the distance here to be just a bit too much. So what I did was I simply ordered 7mm spacer here as well. So now this is nice tight transition, and here it's also as it should be. Time travel. Welcome to the future. Well, I kind of have to come back from the statement that the gap between this ring and the frame is a nice thin gap, because as as you can see in the future, here everything is all the cables are set. As I tighten the top cap to compress the headset, actually at first I thought it was nice, but then I could feel there was still a little bit of play in the headset, so I tightened it down a little bit more, and then I was like, okay, yeah, now there's no play. But then actually this cap was rubbing against the frame a little bit, so the steering started to become rough. I don't think I need an extra mil of spacer here. That will give me a big gap, but what I will do is buy myself a shim, so that this what's this called, this compression ring, so I can put the shim on top, so I can just have a little bit of a tiny gap between this ring and the frame and have free steering and still good compression. So yeah, a little bit of delay, but yeah, shim is totally not expensive. So yeah, we'll get that problem fixed as well. Alright, back to the past. Bye! Alright, so because I had to wait for the handlebars for a long time, I had a long time to just, sit and look at the bike and just try the parts and so on. So the problem I faced was, if I put this cable stopper in, maybe you should also look at the video from Os Cycles, how he does it, like why it's necessary. So you put that in here, and yeah, this stops the cable housing for the front derailleur, and then the idea is to have the cable go through the frame up to the front derailleur. But the problem I had was that the hole for the cable stop seems to point a little bit more towards the back, like this, instead of pointing nicely up towards this hole. So that means that at that position the cable would sort of make a sharp turn. But yeah, I figured that's probably not too bad, especially with one of those one of those ferrules sitting in to protect the cable. But then the second issue I had was that, this is a big hole, this is a small cable, so water can get in and so on. So I didn't have a solution for that. Steven had one of those rubber things. I don't have that. And then the most important issue I found was that I thought that the cable would end at the derailleur so that it's nicely in the middle of this hole, but actually when I put the derailleur on the frame and I positioned the cable to where it should go, it was touching the hole. So it would, as I would shift up and down, okay, you don't do it that much, but as you shift up and down, the cable would slowly saw into the frame. One solution I found was to use a piece of cable housing for this hole. So that fits perfectly in there. But then I asked Yoeleo to show me a picture of the back of the derailleur, how they built the frame, and they actually used full cable housing as well. So I tried that too, and that works. Let me show you. So as you can see here, with the cable going all the way here up to the ferrule, it's actually nice and clean. This hole is also like fully filled with the cable. There's no like extra space for water to get in. I mean, it's not super tight, but it's, or like actually watertight, but it's a really nice fit. And yeah, with the ferrule here, yeah, focus, yeah, no, yeah, it won't really focus, but the ferrule here sits really nicely into this position. And at first I thought I was doing a bit of a botch perhaps, and I googled it and I couldn't really find like full outer housing up to a front derailleur. I couldn't really find much about that, but I looked in the dealer's manual of Shimano for these derailleurs, also the Dura Ace ones, and there it actually has an entry for full outer housing to use this ferrule in that position. So it's endorsed by Shimano, and I think it looks really nice and clean, and it also makes for a cleaner bend here through this area, so sort of a more soft bend that the cable makes. So I won't be using the cable stopper like Steven from Oz Cycles did. So for my final and fourth topic, I want to talk about Hambinis tip to cut your steerer tube with a pipe cutter. So I used this pipe cutter for pipes, metal pipes in the past, heating pipes, and it works great. So I tried it, but I didn't try it at the actual position that I should cut it for my position. I tried it at the end, yeah, somewhere in between, where it doesn't matter if it wouldn't go as well as Hambini advertised. And so as I was doing it, at the beginning I thought, yeah, this is great, a nice, clean, straight cut. And then as I got in the middle section of the pipe width, it started to go really slow, and it took me a long time and a lot of tension, pulling up the tension, making turns and turns and turns and turns and turns. And then I was thinking, okay, it goes really slow. That's probably the reason why people don't advertise using a pipe cutter, but say to just use a saw, because a saw is probably way faster. But then as I got to the inner width part, yeah, of the final layers of carbon, what actually happened was that the blade here was cutting into was pushing against the carbon fiber, but the carbon fiber, or those layers of carbon fiber, had nothing to hold them in place. So it's like pushing or cutting something without a board underneath. So what you basically do is you simply push those layers to the inside of the pipe, and they just sort of bend inwards, and they are not cleanly cut at all. So the inner part of the tube is yeah, that didn't work very well. So yeah, hello Hambini fans, and hello Hambini. I consider myself a Hambini fan as well, but this tip I think belongs on the far left side of the scale of engineering fuckwittism. And I think even if you have a way better cutter like this, like Hambini probably has a way better one with a sharper blade, even then the same principle applies, and the final layers probably won't get cut as well. Just like Hambini, I'm a fan of the Obi, and in the Obi I bought myself a new blade, and I will use that to cut my steer tube at the actual length. let me show you the setup that I will use to hold the steer tube in place. So this is the setup I made. Since I don't have one of those fancy guides and I didn't want to buy it, since I also don't have a vise to put it in. So what I did was I took this stem from an old bike, bolted it to this piece of wood diagonally, so I have a lot of leverage. It's very strong both in this direction but also in this direction. And then I have this old spacer here that I will use to guide the saw, so I won't even actually damage the stem at all. And this is very stable, and it's in my garage, so I have the door open to ventilate, and I can wear a mask as well. So this cut is probably gonna be quite easy to do in this way, but I'll take my time and I don't foresee major issues. Look at this. I just finished the cut. Nice and clean. Went pretty smooth. Alright, so thank you for watching this part. I can now go ahead and finish my build. I will probably give you another update after I'm done. Maybe I'll give you an in-between update. I don't know. But I'm very excited to finally build my bike after waiting weeks and weeks for my handlebar. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next part. Bye!